Clean air, and electrical, all under one trusted roof, proudly serving homes across Lincoln, Omaha, and surrounding areas and ready 24/7. Visit calljh.com or call John Henry's.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air,
and Electrical.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America. Welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome in to College Football Live here on a Sunday. It is the first Sunday of 2026, and I'm happy for anyone tuning in here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's a pretty nice Sunday we have here in Lincoln, Nebraska. Typically, I feel like we're struggling, dealing with the snow. Has been a little chilly, but should be pretty nice this week. And thankfully, we're in the midst of the college football playoffs, which is one of my favorite times of the year. It comes close to March Madness and just the college atmosphere that we get and the opportunity we have to see all of these unbelievable athletes go off and play the sport that we all love to watch and get so passionate about, especially here in Lincoln, Nebraska, especially when we're talking about our Huskers. But for now, we'll get into our Skurs later, and we're going to talk about just the college football playoff and what we've gotten so far, maybe some predictions, things that maybe need to change. Last time we talked a little bit about how there's kind of this idea that the playoff committee has to slowly make improvements. They can't do it all at once. In the past year, when the first 12-team college football playoff came out, we had the top 4 conference champions. They got the byes, and very quickly, I think we noticed that this was not the way it should be played. We had teams like Boise State, Arizona State, Oregon. They all had a bye, as well as Georgia, and in result of that, all of them lost in their first round game, which was the quarterfinals. They all had at least 20 days where they had not played football. And if we're being honest, those were not the top 4 teams in college football. We saw that by having a Ohio State team that won it all last year, who was the 8 seed, and then having a Notre Dame team who was not having a bye. They also end up in the national championship. So does the bye week really help? Is this something that possibly needs to be changed in the future? We'll all get into that. But first, let's do a little bit of a recap from the games that we had this past New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. I think all but one really showed out. I think they all were games that were enjoyable to watch, besides the Indiana absolutely throttle of the Crimson Tide. I think we all expected a better outcome in that one. But let's start with the New Year's Eve game between number 10 Miami and number 2 Ohio State. If I'm being honest, I watched Ohio State play all year, and besides in the Big Ten championship, it seemed like they were the team to beat. They lost to an Indiana team where they didn't play their best football, had a few turnovers, but also missed some costly field goals that would have made a huge difference in this game. And unfortunately, they didn't win. But I thought that was going to give them a little bit of fire. We saw it with them last year when they lost to Oregon in the regular season. They lose to Michigan. They end up being the 8th seed, and then they go on a run. I thought that this loss to Indiana in the Big Ten championship was probably going to set a fire on them, and they were going to go. You were going to see an Ohio State team that still had a bye week, still had some time to prepare, and they're playing Miami, who I think quite a few people counted out. I think after they defeated number 7 Texas A&M, the idea was, okay, maybe Texas A&M wasn't that good. There wasn't a whole bunch of flowers given to Miami. It was, all right, this is a sloppy Texas A&M team that kind of got lucky with maybe an easier schedule, and when they played some tough opponents, they struggled. So even after that win in the first round, Miami didn't get their flowers. In this game against Ohio State, I had the Buckeyes all the way. I thought there's no chance that a Ryan Day coach team who came off a national championship last year, a coach who knows what it takes to win a national championship, is playing an ACC opponent in Miami who does have plenty of NIL. They have a good head coach in Mario Cristobal. But I did not expect this game to turn out the way it did. I think at the beginning of the game, you obviously could see with the pick 6 and Julian Sain not being very comfortable. But that's just kudos to how good of a defense that Miami has. Their front 7 are just as good as anyone in the country. And you could tell that right away. You could tell Ohio State was not comfortable. And I think Ohio State wasn't ready to be punched in the mouth. I think they had this idea that they're going to walk in here. Sure, Miami's good. Yes, we've had plenty of time to prep, and maybe we're still a little bit of asleep from all these days off. But then you get into time to go play, and it was Miami the whole game. You know, a scoreless first half for Ohio State is not something that you would expect out of them whatsoever. They played well all season. Seemed like Julian Saint continuously was getting better and better. And by the end of it, you thought, what happened? What happened to Ohio State? But I think it was Miami's defense all day. And in plenty of these other games that we'll get into, it's going to be the defenses that show up and step up for teams to start winning these games, especially when it gets into crunch time, once it gets to the times where the offense is not rolling. I mean, even with Oregon, who ended up winning, which we'll get into, their offense wasn't rolling really. They didn't look comfortable the entire game. And Texas Tech, we obviously know, did not. But looking at the stats, it was Miami's defense that won them this game. Carson Beck only had 138 passing yards, 19 for 26, and one touchdown. Fletcher had 90 rushing yards, which is pretty solid against a stout Ohio State defense. And I mean, for Julian Sayin, it comes down to the turnovers. And I think the turnovers are going to be the reason that teams win and lose these college football playoff games. And I think that's going to be something from years to come. Julian Sayin had 287 passing yards, which is pretty solid against a really good Miami defense. The issue is he had only one touchdown and 2 interceptions, and one of those interceptions led to a touchdown for Miami. And it seemed like Ohio State was just in a little bit of a hole the entire game, trying to get it figured out. And up until that last drive, it seemed like Ohio State had an opportunity. They make it 17-7, and Jeremiah Smith scores that touchdown to make it a 3-point ball game. And I think, okay, this is when Ohio State shows up, and this is when they dominate. And kudos to Carson Beck for that last drive of the game. There's seconds just ticking off the clock that Ohio State really needed to have if they wanted any shot of winning. And Carson Beck and Miami offense just drives down the field, scores that touchdown, puts a bow on it, and just says, yep, this is our game to win. Not what I expected out of the Buckeyes. If I'm being honest, probably good for these other teams. I think every other team that won this week looked at this game and said, thank you for the national champions, former national championships, not being in this anymore. Ohio State was a tough team to beat last year. We saw that them getting out, knowing how good of a team Ryan Day can coach up and prepare for games. I think every team in this college football playoff that is still in it, with Oregon, Indiana, Ole Miss, Miami, I think they're all pretty happy with how this is kind of turning out. I think Indiana is obviously the favorite as of right now, just of how they have played, how dominant they were in their game. But before we get to that, we'll get on to the Orange Bowl between Oregon and Texas Tech. I think this might have been one of the most talked about matchups when it came to the quarterfinals. Because in this game, you have the 5 and the 4 seed, and you have Oregon, who came off kind of a get-ready match, you know, just kind of fine-tune some things against James Madison, and now we get to go play Texas Tech. And I think for everyone in the country, it was the question, is Texas Tech legit? Is this a team that is all that they talk about? They've beaten Utah. They've beaten BYU twice. So when it comes to playing the top teams in the Big 12, they absolutely dominated them. But how are they going to match up when they play some Big 10 football? And defensively, I think they match up unbelievably. You could tell by Oregon right away is Dante Moore wasn't comfortable. He wasn't comfortable. And that D line of Texas Tech is one of the best collegiate D lines I've ever seen. They were fast. They were stealthy. They made offensive linemen miss, and they didn't really miss tackles. They got through, and you were going down. Oregon's running backs had to find a little bit of a crease if they wanted to get anything going. And it was a tough, really slow first half for both teams. Dante Moore did finish with 234 yards passing and 1 interception. And Jordan Davidson, Oregon has kind of a 3 running back trio that they just dominate with Noah Whittington, Jordan Davison, and De'Aaron Hill Jr. Jordan Davidson has been a freshman phenom, 230 pounds, and he is the, goal line back. He's the guy when you need 1 or 2 yards, he's the guy you give it to, and he was unbelievable in that one. Dylan Thieneman at safety for Oregon, transfer for Purdue, had 12 tackles, and Brendan Roberts for Texas Tech had 16 tackles, 8 solo. And this defense for Texas Tech was tough. I think, in all honesty, Baron Morton really struggled. I think we all saw that, and there was no way for him to bounce back. There was no way that he was able to really get anything going. And you almost felt bad because you could see his confidence just slowly diminishing, and Oregon was just taking out of him. It came from that first interception thrown on the deep out route that the corner undercut, and there's an interception there. And then it's the sack and fumble recovery in the end zone that he wished he had back. That sets up Oregon for a 6-yard touchdown run right on the 6-yard line. And then you go into the second half where they are driving in the fourth quarter. Right at the beginning of the fourth quarter, he drops back at the 8-yard line, reaches back, thinks he has a guy going over the top, thinks they're in man covers. They end up being in zone. Dorian Finney drops back, and he is right there just waiting for the interception. So 3 turnovers for Baron Morton. That is not a way that I think Texas Tech drew it up, obviously, but also how Baron Morton wanted to go out in this game and prove a point. And I think the craziest thing is, can we now say that the third best team, let's say Oregon is the third best team in the Big Ten, is better than the best team in the Big 12? I don't think we've had a team in the Big 12 that has been this good in years. And Texas Tech, kudos to them for having the oil money, going out, buying the players, but also getting the right guys, getting the guys that you need to win a conference championship. That's what they did. And Oregon's defense was unbelievable. It was money versus money in this one, and Oregon came out on top. But for the Texas Tech Red Raiders, I expect a lot of big things out of them in the near future. They're going to have the money. That's going to keep racking up. But also, once you have a year like this and you have a head coach who now is confident and comfortable and knows that, the Big Ten or winning the Big 12 is the standard now. That's the standard for Texas Tech, and they're going to have the money to do it. And I think they're probably going to hit the portal harder than anyone. They have the opportunities to do it. They're going to look at who is someone who can come in here and make a difference. I think when it comes to the quarterback position, that's still up in the air. Arizona State, Sam Levitt is on a visit there today, I believe, which could possibly be an opportunity for Texas Tech to have another standout quarterback. That would just be unbelievable for them. So Oregon wins that one 23-0. They move on to the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Now get into the Rose Bowl. I think this was a game where after we saw Alabama beat Oklahoma by 10 in Norman, we thought, does Oklahoma have a shot? Does Kalen DeBoer have the guys, have the squad that he can go out and beat this Indiana team? And as we had seen before with Oregon losing with Texas Tech losing and with Ohio State losing, teams with byes not winning. So it was almost drawn up for Alabama. All right, there's been 6 games where teams have had byes in this 12-team college football playoff. Every single team with a bye week has lost. Not even a bye week, almost a bye month has lost. And so I thought Alabama has a shot, but knowing how good Fernando Mendoza is, the Heisman winner, how many awards that this Indiana team has won, but then also it's Curt Cignetti, and it seems like he just astonishes us every single day with his coaching style and how prepared his players are every single week. And it was dominant from the get-go. We head into halftime and it's 17-0, and I'm thinking maybe Alabama can get something going. Ty Simpson goes down with an injury on a fumble. And from then on, I felt like it was just all Indiana. Indiana's defense almost seems like it becomes a competition within themselves. Like everyone's trying to get their licks in. They see a quarterback drop back, the defensive line said, no, I want this sack. You're not getting the sack. This is going to be me. Or even when the linebacker's on a run play, it's all right. I'm stepping up. I'm going to be the guy that makes the biggest hit today. It almost seems like they just continue to rise and rise and rise. And by the fourth quarter, every single offense is like, I don't even want to be playing anymore. This is brutal, and I'm getting dominated all darn day. And so Indiana comes out in that one, and maybe this is something that's beneficial for Oregon. Indiana opens up at -4 in this one in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl on January 9th. But maybe for Oregon, this is beneficial. This is a time where, Indiana coming off a big win. I think Curt Cignetti does a pretty good job of keeping his guys pretty humble and even keeled, not getting too high, not getting too low. We've seen that all year. I mean, they just won the Big Ten championship, and now they play in historic Alabama, and they beat them by 35. And there's no questions asked. So this is going to be a pretty interesting matchup that we have between number 5 Oregon and number 1 Indiana, a matchup where we got a rematch. Indiana defeated Oregon in Eugene by 10 earlier this year, which was a game that I think a lot of people expected Indiana to lose. Everyone, I think, said, okay, they haven't played a real tough opponent yet this year. They're going to walk into Eugene, and Oregon's going to put it to them. And after watching that game, as an Oregon fan, I thought this Indiana team is for real. But it's hard to beat a team twice. Curt Cignetti said it himself, that it's hard to beat a team twice, especially an Oregon team. And now, because when you have a game where you're playing a team that you beat earlier in the season, it's easy to look back on that game and go, yeah, we did the right things in order to win that one. We did this right. We did this right. We did this right. It's much easier to learn and make changes as Oregon, who lost in that game, to go, yeah, we lost that game because we did this wrong. We did this wrong. So if we fix this, it's going to be a lot easier for us to come out on top. From the text line in the comment section, John Jacobs, Indiana has the best passing attack in the country, plus they can run it. I don't trust the Oregon defense. The Oregon defense, I think after you saw them against James Madison in the second half, you thought, what is this? This defense has no shot of having any success, especially against a Texas Tech team who does score pretty well typically in the Big 12. But then after what I saw on New Year's Day out of Oregon against Texas Tech, which is a completely different offense. There's no way that you can compare a Texas Tech offense to this Fernando Mendoza-led Indiana offense. I think this game is going to come down to defenses too, and it's going to be the same thing as I think it is the first time. It's going to come down to which quarterback is most uncomfortable and which one can settle in the most. I think Fernando Mendoza has faced a little bit of adversity this year where he's had to bounce back. That's the same with Dante Moore. He had to against Penn State early in the season, against Iowa, games where he struggled early. And by the fourth quarter, I think this game is going to be close, and it's going to be which quarterback can really bear down and which defense can make the opposing quarterback the most uncomfortable. I think Oregon's defense continuously just gotten better and better, and they've done a good job of prepping. And when you have Taj Lapoy, who is going to be the next head coach at Cal for the Golden Bears, you know that this guy knows ball and he knows how to prep. And I think, thankfully for him, he gave up over 30 points in that first matchup against Indiana. He's looking back at this game going, all right, I need to be better. Where can we be better? And how can we not let Fernando Mendoza get on a roll? Because when he gets on a roll, he is easily the best quarterback in the country. When it comes to his accuracy, when it comes to his decision-making, it seems like there's just no way to stop him. But also, the run defense for Oregon is going to have to be insane, because as much as Fernando Mendoza can drop back, play action, and fake handoff and sling it down the field, they can run the ball, and they have an offensive line easily that can make a huge impact on this game. It's going to be it's going to be a good game. I'm curious which game is going to end up being better. It's going to be the Oregon Indiana or the Ole Miss Miami one. I think two teams are very similar to each other. I think Ole Miss plays a very similar style game as Miami, and I think Oregon and Indiana play a very similar style game. And it's going to be so exciting and fun to see who comes out on top in this one. We got plenty more college football to talk about. We're going to talk about Ole Miss and Miami when we get back. The national championship possible matchups that we're going to see. And then also, is there different changes that the College Football Playoff Committee needs to make going into this next year? I think there's quite a few that a lot of fans are hoping for, especially when it comes to the college football playoff and the transfer portal and what teams are having to deal with that. And is the transfer portal getting out of hand? That'll be all here on 93.7 The Ticket when we get back.
It's life's greatest adventures.
Okay, take the worm, put it on the hook. Now bring your pole back and throw it forward. And just let the fish come to you.
I got a bite! It's a big one, Dad!
Great road trips start with great service. Graham Tire, your tire store next door, with 5 convenient Lincoln locations, getting you to the places that matter most.
With UBT, you've got total control over your money. Like Doug, who runs his game day tailgate like a well-oiled machine.
I got burgers, brats, chicken, dogs, plus all the fixins. And with the UBT Go app, I can track my food spending from anywhere.
Pro move.
They don't call me Grill Sergeant for nothing.
No matter your goals, UBT helps you feel good about reaching them. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
MWR, a local company of Lincoln, is proud to announce they are able to offer their own post-frame building packages in metal to anyone desiring a building, whether you're a contractor or a DIYer. They can install your building as always, and they offer multiple different rib profiles and loads of color options, including the wood grain metal at great competitive prices. You can inquire at mwrbuildingandfence.com or just draw your desired building and submit it in their contact us page, and they'll get back to you. Call MWR today at 402-540-8966.
Back Nine Golf in South Lincoln is the premier indoor golf experience in the state. The weather in the winter months is cold, windy, and as unpredictable as a tee shot on the 450-yard par 4. With top-of-the-line full-swing simulators and a PGA teaching professional, Back Nine Golf is there to help you improve your game and lower your score. Back Nine Golf is open to the public with 24/7 access for members. Learn about Back Nine's variety of memberships today and see the facility for yourself at 7501 South 15th Street in Lincoln, just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Back Nine Golf, your premier indoor golf and events destination.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals just like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait, apply now.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine. Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket immediately after every Nebraska men's basketball game for 1 hour of post-game recap. The Nebraska Basketball Postgame Show is sponsored by Union Bank and Trust, John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical, and the Lincoln Airport on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills Global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Bagels & Joe is the best place to start off your mornings, and you can order your breakfast ahead of time on their app. You can't go wrong with one of their great bagel sandwiches or breakfast burritos. Stop by any of their 4 locations in Lincoln and their location in Seward. Bagels & Joe.
Anderson Ford in Lincoln has 2 convenient locations, which means 2 times the customer service, 2 times the inventory, and 2 times the ability to get you in the car of your dreams. Whether you visit us on the north side or the south side, you'll find more selection and a team that's always on your side. When you're looking for a better way to buy your next Ford, visit Anderson Ford in Lincoln, where exceptional service meets unbeatable selection.
Concrete Industries has immediate job openings for precast production laborers and maintenance technicians. Concrete Industries offers great pay, health benefits, 401k, a wellness program, holidays, and paid time off. Apply today to earn a starting pay of $21.50 per hour plus a $1,500 hiring bonus. Concrete Industries is hiring all experience levels and offers on-the-job training. Start your career today as a precast production laborer or maintenance technician. Visit concreteindustries.com.
Want to make the easy call? Call John Henry's. From leaky pipes to a broken AC, flickering lights to furnace fights, even drains and duct cleaning, we've got it handled. Plumbing, heating, air, and electrical, all under one trusted roof. Proudly serving homes across Lincoln, Omaha, and surrounding areas and ready 24/7. Visit calljh.com or call John Henry's.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air,
and Electrical.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back into College Football Live. We're talking all college football, talking all recap from the college football playoff games we've had so far. Also, what's ahead, what's in store for us, and what are we going to see out of each team still left standing. We got number 5, Oregon, number 1, Indiana. And on this other side, we got some crazy game that with two teams I don't think many people expected. We got number 6, Ole Miss, after they defeated number 11, Tulane, and then went on to defeat SEC rival number 3, Georgia, 39-34 in the All-State Sugar Bowl, which was a game that Trinidad Chambliss was unreal in. I think this is an Ole Miss team that has a huge chip on their shoulder. In their minds, they came into this college football playoff saying, you know what, Lane, we don't need you. You know, we are playing for each other, and honestly, probably having a little bit of hatred or a little bad feeling about Lane Kiffin in their mouth is the reason that they've had so much success throughout this playoff and are playing with confidence. It's a lot of just wanting to prove themselves right. It's not so much of, hey, Blaine, we're proving you wrong, or we're trying to prove the country wrong. It's, hey, we're going to prove ourselves right, that we know we're a good team, whether we've got our head coach that we had all year or not. And Pete Golden has been unreal. I think he's really stepped up into this position and shown what it means to be an Ole Miss Rebel and the fire that he instills in his players. And we saw it. This is a Kirby Smart coach Georgia team that I expect to win all the time. I'll be honest, when I see Kirby Smart on the sidelines with the Georgia Bulldogs behind him, in my head, I'm always thinking, yeah, this is going to be a W for the Dogs. Just because I put Kirby Smart kind of in the same conversation as Nick Saban. When you look across the field and you're a coach and you see Nick Saban on the other side, you go, all right, this is going to be a very prepared team, a very disciplined team, and a team that we're going to have to play our best football against if we want any shot of winning this game. And so when it came to this game, Ole Miss's offense was unreal against the Georgia defense, who has been lights out. In the SEC championship, they didn't give up a single rushing yard. Alabama actually had -3 rushing yards against this defense. And if you look at the passing yards, which is unbelievable, Trinidad Chambliss, 362 passing yards and 2 touchdowns, 30 for 46. And the crazy thing is, when you're playing Georgia, you're playing against future NFL players, guys that we're going to see playing on Sundays. And Trinidad just did it with ease. He looked so calm and composed, especially in this fourth quarter when we're having the game go back and forth. Even when Ole Miss was down 21-12 in the second quarter, they still found a way and said, yeah, we'll go score. And they just drove down the field with ease. And I think that just goes with Trinidad's composure of how easy he makes it look, but also just the work that he put in prior. Being a 2-time D2 national champion at Ferris State probably has instilled a lot of confidence in him, and just the idea that he can play in these big games and he's going to find a way to win, which so impressive out of the Ole Miss Rebels. And they had 98. Kyron Lacey had, who do we got here? Kejuan Lacey had 98 rushing yards. An Alabama team that has also future first-round draft picks they had -3 rushing yards against this Georgia Bulldogs team. And it looked like Ole Miss came in here with all the confidence in the world and just said, yeah, I don't care how good your defense is said to be or what you did against Alabama. We'll find a way to win, and we're going to put up numbers while doing that. So with that being said, they take on the Miami Hurricanes. Miami is favored in this one at 3.5 in the Verbo Fiesta Bowl. This is going to be a wild game, I believe, for both teams. I think this is going to be a game where I think it's going to be the same thing, as we're going to have to see which defense steps up, which defense is going to play the best when the going gets hard, and which offense is going to keep the ball as much as possible. Carson Beck did a phenomenal job in the Cotton Bowl of taking care of the ball. No interceptions. We saw in the games earlier this year, he was not taking care of the ball. He had 4 interceptions against Louisville when they lost in that one, had a few interceptions against SMU when they lost in that one. And then you look at this game, he had 138 passing yards, but he took care of the ball and had a touchdown pass. So when you have a Miami defense that can not only just make plays and stop other teams, but they'll go and score themselves. As Carson Beck, your biggest goal is to take care of the rock. If you don't take care of the rock, it's not going to work out for Miami. And I think that's for both teams. Miami's defense is going to have to show up and show out again. I think Ole Miss's offense is going to have to continue to put up these numbers through Trinidad and what they have done. But what a game this is going to be. I don't think anyone at the beginning of the season thought that this Final Four was how it was going to end up. If you would have told me, yeah, I can tell you the Final Four, it's going to be Oregon, Indiana, Miami, and Ole Miss, I would say you are crazy. And where did you pull those teams out of? I also would think that Lane Kiffin is the man and that he is the reason that this team is in this position. And I wouldn't think that he's at LSU. And also, I would think, okay, so Miami probably went undefeated and won the ACC. No, they lost 2 games in the ACC, and they still found a way to come back and make it this far, get it to the semis. And also, at the beginning of the year, even here at 93.7 The Ticket, we were talking about who's going to be this year's Indiana. Who's going to be the team that kind of shocks everyone and maybe has an easier schedule that finds a way to just win games, and by the end of it, they're in the college football playoff. Little did we know it was Indiana. Curt Cignetti is still Curt Cignetti. He's going to win. You can Google him. He found a way to he's undefeated right now. It's not like Indiana fell off. I don't know why we all kind of expected that this Indiana year that they had last year was a little bit of a fluke and we're not going to get that same thing when this is a team that's just building. And the average age on that team, this is unbelievable. The average age on this Indiana Hoosiers team is 22 and a half. So we have a lot of guys with red shirts. We have a lot of guys with possibly grad transfers. So this is an experienced team. And I think that's how Curt Cignetti knows that he can win in college football I'll be at Indiana. They started to get some NIL going. Once these guys get to an age where they've played a lot of football, a lot of college football, I'm going to bring them in and they're going to start playing for me. And that's going to take us to our next topic. Are there changes that need to be made with the transfer portal? And we'll kind of combine this with changes to the college football playoff, but also right now in the transfer portal. Dan Lanning and Curt Cignetti had a little combined interview together, and Curt Cignetti said it straight up. You know that he is going to go heavy in the transfer portal, and he's going to try to find guys that are going to set this team up for success next year as well. As much as you want to win a national championship right now, you also want to have the opportunity to do the same thing next year. And what Curt Cignetti was saying is he's taken away time from prepping for Oregon for this Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl to go recruit transfer portal players, because as a head coach, you want your recruiters to go out and make a positive impact on these guys that could possibly end up on campus. But as a head coach, you also need to, show face. You need to show who you are, what kind of culture that you're building, and explain to whatever transfer that as the head coach, we see you making a positive impact on our team next season. But while you're trying to get some of the best transfers in the country, which Indiana is now in the conversation for, you also are prepping for a national semifinal game against an Oregon team who just shut out number 4 Texas Tech. And Oregon's on the same page. Dan Lanning said, yeah, it's a struggle, especially when Oregon, also very high in the NIL world, they easily can just go, yeah, we need a guy out of the transfer portal at this position. At the defensive back position, Oregon's already had a few guys enter the transfer portal, which is tough that Oregon possibly has quite a few guys that are in the portal right now that would be playing in this game. But with the transfer portal opening 2 days ago, these guys said, I need to get my name out there and I need other schools to start talking to me, start looking at me. So they can't play in this game. Totally respect if they said, yeah, I would like to go somewhere else. But let them finish the season first. Like, this is crazy. Imagine you get to the World Series. It's like in baseball or like in the NFL. Imagine you get to the World Series or free agency started when the season wasn't even over yet. And so we're in the NFL playoffs. And free agents are like, yeah, I'm not going to play in this playoff anymore. I mean, because I have to enter free agency and I have to go to another team before the end of the season. I think the window just doesn't make sense. And so there's a few topics or a few ideas that could possibly change this or make this easier and honestly just make sense. I don't know why the NCAA feels like they're fighting this battle where like, oh, if it doesn't make sense, then it's what we're going to do. I feel like that's always the question. Why is everyone so upset with the NCAA all the time? Because they make terrible decisions and they make it so it doesn't make sense. What could possibly change? Well, first, I think the season needs to end before the transfer portal opens. Sure, I understand that guys want to enter the transfer portal. They want to start seeing their options early. We're in January. They want to be somewhere for spring ball and they want to get going. They want to start practicing, getting used to the school. But this is not fair to any of these teams that are still playing. Going, yeah, we have players that would play on our team and now they're in the transfer portal. Respectful to them because I want them to go there, go somewhere where they think they're going to play more, have a better opportunity. But they have football to play right now. Like, there is football that Oregon has plenty of DBs that could be playing right this second. And so Dan Lanning brought up, what if we just go week to week to week in this college football playoff? I mean, even let's say you get done with the conference championship, I think you would have to push it back a little bit more, but you get done with the conference championship, the college football playoffs start next week. And then the following Saturday is the teams with the bye get their first game. And so that's 2 games already before Christmas happens. And so then we're in the semis this past weekend. I think that makes a lot more sense, is to get rid of the bye weeks. We've honestly seen that it doesn't help. It's really not beneficial. Oregon, Dan Lanning even talks about it this year. He's like, yeah, I'm very thankful that we don't have a bye week. When it came down to Oregon possibly getting into a bye this year, it was between them or Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech deserved it. But when it came down to them or Texas Tech, I bet Dan Lanning and the whole Oregon staff said, yeah, I hope that we are the 5 seed. We get to play the 12 seed, get a little tune-up game, get, our feet under us. And then we're going to go play Texas Tech, who has kind of been sitting around for a little bit. We saw it last year in the Rose Bowl, how Oregon just got absolutely dominated by Ohio State. You could tell Ohio State, they were in football mode, and Oregon was still waking up. So I think there's a few changes that are going to need to be made in order for not only for us to get better games, but just for it to be fair, for it to make sense for these teams that are currently playing in this college football playoff. So it's unreal what the NCAA has done so far, and it's got to be a little tough to decide what's going to happen. Because like I said, last year, they decided, yeah, it's not best for college football to have the best 4 conference champions to get the bye week. That doesn't make any sense to have an Arizona State team or a Boise State team have a bye week over what wouldn't have been Ohio State would not have the bye this year because they lost in their conference championship, and Ohio State was very deservingly of a bye week. But I think we've easily seen that it's hard to make the most of this college football playoff bracket when the teams with the byes are always losing. So do you expand it to 16 and there's no bye weeks? Do you shorten the bye so it's not 20 days since you've played a football game? A bye week, I think, helps you get healthy. I think 20 days makes you feel a little rusty. It makes you struggle to feel confident and in football mode once you get into these games. We got more to talk about. We might wrap it up with a little bit of just a recap of what we saw with Nebraska in the bowl game. What are we looking for in the transfer portal? Nebraska already has a few guys that are coming to campus after this week. So don't go anywhere. We'll have plenty more college football when we return.
Bauer Underground has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know that the best workers in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and a pedigree of success. They're offering top-notch benefits, a matching 401k, and a $600 per year clothing allowance. Bauer Underground, a family-friendly company with plenty of room for advancement.
Ticket listeners know a dream team when they see one. At Applied Connective, we've been in the game for 20 years and have developed a team of world-class leaders in all things IT. From cybersecurity and Microsoft products to physical security, audio-video, infrastructure, business phone systems, and anything in between. We'll help you leverage technology to become your most secure, efficient, and profitable. Head to our website to check out real reviews and testimonials and sign up for a free tech consultation. We can show you where you might be vulnerable, inefficient, or overspending. It's a game changer, and it's totally free. Claim yours right now at appliedconnective.com.
Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket immediately after every Nebraska men's basketball game for 1 hour of post-game recap. The Nebraska Basketball Postgame Show is sponsored by Union Bank and Trust, John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical, and the Lincoln Airport on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Winter is just around the corner. Is your vehicle ready? Don't get left out in the cold. At A1 Automotive, we prep your car for whatever winter throws your way here in Nebraska. For battery checks, brake inspections, tires, heaters, whatever your car needs to keep you and your family safe on the road, we've got you covered. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
In a world where Wi-Fi battles rage and bandwidth is never enough, one family dares to connect it all. Work from home, influence all day, stream all night, and game to win. Deadlines, downloads, and dance-offs, all happening under one roof, flawlessly. Can your internet provider do that? Fiber fuel your household at allofiber.com/all-in.
Mike, I've been thinking our house could really use a makeover. How about new siding?
I've been thinking the same thing. Have you heard of James Hardy?
Yes! Sarah down the street had Roofing Service Company install James Hardy siding on their home, and they love it.
Roofing Service Company does have great reviews.
They took her through the design process and made everything super easy.
Roofing Service Company offers expert design and installation. Couple that with James Hardy's durable products and variety of colors, you and your family will love your exterior remodel. Just visit roofingservicecompany.com. That's roofingservicecompany.com.
Hey there, this is Paul Scheel, owner of High Electric. I want to thank our friends and loyal customers and introduce High Electric to those looking for a new electrician. We've been serving the Lincoln and Omaha area for over 30 years, from design to install, upgrades, and repair. If you are a homeowner or a small business needing some electrical work, call us at 402-466-6606 or check us out at hyelectric.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
Big value and big flavor meet at Wings and Rings thanks to the all-new delicious Duo Combo. This is the one you've been waiting for. Get one half-sized appetizer and 2 entrees with a side for only $19.99. Bring a friend for the best deal in town on any day of the week, during game time, or whenever the heck you want. Their made-to-order wings and chicken sandwiches are waiting for you at their 68th and O and 40th and Old Cheney locations. Stop by Wings and Rings and celebrate every day with the best meal deal in town.
Rick Heyman here from Sauter Heyman Jewelers. I want to personally thank our great customers for voting us once again the best of Lincoln. At the same time, we're celebrating our 120th year in business in the great state of Nebraska. You can count on Sauter Heyman for the very best quality, value, and customer service. When it comes to your jewelry needs, visit us at South Point, Grand Island, and the Outlet in downtown Lincoln. Visit us today at sauterheyman.com, and thank you for your continued trust after all these years.
It's basketball season, and Salt Mine City is your pregame and postgame headquarters in the Haymarket for craft beers and great food. Get ready for the game with their big, fatty 7-ounce hamburger or try a Reuben sandwich served on Blackstone rye bread. And don't forget their beef or chicken nachos with guacamole, sour cream, jalapenos, and more. Wash it down with one of their 12 beers on tap, including the popular Single Axle Light American Lager. Salt Mine City, your basketball headquarters, now open at 2 p.m. Monday through Thursday and 11 a.m. Friday through Sunday at 8th and R.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to Ticket Weekend. I'm Tristan Gomes. We're wrapping it up here, putting a bow on this thing, talking a little bit of college football. Let's end it all by talking about Nebraska football, about the bowl game. What can we expect from the Skurs going into next year? How are they going to attack the transfer portal? What it means to the Matt Rule and this new coaching staff, where he brought in a few guys, and in previous interviews he's talked about how it takes 3 years to find the right staff. Matt Rule said he heard that from Bill Belichick, and it's tough. Matt Rule also said he wishes that it did come as fast as it did at Indiana. He wishes that he showed up at the University of Nebraska, a down and out kind of university organization program, and could just turn around, where the next year it was a college football playoff team, and then the following year you're winning a Big Ten championship. It's not that easy, and we know this. As Nebraska fans, I believe we have an extremely high standard for what we expect out of the Cornhuskers each and every year, and we probably have our expectations a little too high, because we know that this university is capable of huge things. National championships have been a thing in the past. It's been something where every year you kind of expected it. Tom Osborne and Bob Devaney, they kind of laid that foundation and said, yeah, we're at the University of Nebraska and we're going to find ways to win national championships. I think in today's day and age with NIL and how things are in the transfer portal, it gets tougher and tougher every year. And so I think now it's not only the idea of, making the college football playoff, but it's being in the top 5 at least of this Big Ten conference. And it's when you win those big games, you win them and they carry on momentum. And the big games have been, what was our biggest game this year? Maybe UCLA. Cincinnati ended up being pretty decent. And so you win those games, but when you play the USCs or you play the Iowas or even the Penn States this year and the Michigan, just winning one of those games, I think, would set Nebraska so far ahead. And this bowl game against Utah, where it started out with Nebraska's offense looking unreal. TJ Lateef looks comfortable. The run game was really moving. Isaiah Mosey and Mekhi Nelson, 2 newer running backs with Emmett Johnson being out. This was an offense that looked really good to start out the game. And then we obviously saw how good Utah's offense is in Devon Dampier and how easy he made it look all game. And Utah's offense went on to make quite a few adjustments. And I think Nebraska's defense really struggled to make those. But now, as Matt Rule said, it takes a few years to find the right coaches that you need in your system. As we know, the offensive line was the Achilles heel for the Cornhuskers this year when it came to the sacks that were allowed, not able to get the run game going all the time, and almost being a one-dimensional offense when we couldn't have Dylan Raiola drop back really or TJ Lateef drop back really because they had no time to get the ball out. And so we relied on, all right, we're going to have to hand it to Emmett Johnson and see if he can make something happen, which is a tough way to play football. So we have Jeep Wade now, who coached his first game. And I think in this bowl game, it was nice to see that these new head coaches, we'll get into the new defensive coordinator and Rob Aldridge as well. But we have 2 new coaches on the staff that I think are here to make a big impact. They're guys that have a lot of experience and also have come from places where they have had quite a bit of success. And so not only does it come to with the offensive line of instilling the confidence for these guys to go out and perform, but you got to have the right guys. I mean, you're in the Big Ten every week. You're possibly playing a NFL defensive lineman, whether it's an end, whether it's a middle rusher. You're playing a guy that is going to probably end up playing on Sundays. And so you have to find a way to stop those guys and get them comfortable. And then from a defensive standpoint, the defense, it seemed like John Butler and Matt Rule didn't always see eye to eye. And that was something that I don't think is going to be a case from now on. I think when Matt Rule was searching for a new defensive coordinator, he knew he had a guy in mind and had someone who he and them can have conversations and be on the same page. A few of the players said it was kind of hard to understand John Butler because he knew so much about the game of football that he would kind of explain something, but it wasn't always understood. And so you didn't always know the assignment, or you didn't even know, in this situation, what am I doing? Because he might have said it, but he didn't really explain it super well. So I think having a new defensive coordinator is going to be huge. And now we got to get into the transfer portal and we'll wrap it up. Does Nebraska bring in another quarterback? We got Kenny Minchey, Notre Dame backup quarterback who's in the portal, who seems like he's a guy that people are wanting. He's a guy that people want on campus. Not only to say that he's going to show up and he's going to start and be the guy, but I think TJ Lateef also wants some competition and needs some competition, and iron sharpens iron. So having these 2 guys battle out would be huge. And I think just having a quarterback battle makes everyone in the room better. And then it also makes guys leaders, because not only do they want the best from themselves, they want to get the best out of their teammates, and they got to show their teammates that they're a leader. So when it's the 4th quarter and we got a 2-minute drill, when they get in the huddle, you look at the quarterback and he's a guy with confidence, whether that's TJ Lateef or hopefully it's an opportunity for Kenny Minchey out of Notre Dame to be the guy. One of those 2 hopefully will be here in the Scarlet and Cream and can be leading the Cornhuskers. And they'll get the same energy that Dylan Raiola got. When Dylan Raiola showed up, although he's a 5-star, they still gave us fans, all gave him all his reins, gave him his flowers and said, yeah, you're the guy. We believe in you. And I think the Cornhusker faithful are going to believe in whoever is at quarterback after hopefully a quarterback battle going into next year. We got more shows here on 93.7 Ticket. We'll be on stream. If you're not, if you're driving, you're probably watching some NFL football. But we'll probably bring DP back in here or play some replays. And then we got the great Dr. Lawrence Chatter is going to talk about the law of lift and just uplifting others and going through life and all of that. So don't go anywhere. We got plenty more here on 93.7 The Ticket.